Okay, I'm going to show you a basic video of how we edit a Zeus mission and how you can then do some basics with Zeus to create your own missions. So the first thing you're going to need to do is download a program called PBO Manager, which looks like this. And what this does is it converts files from a PBO into the standard form. Basically on the server needs the file in a PBO format, whereas to edit it you need it in the standard format. I'll explain that in a second. So first of all, you're going to go to our Discord channel, you're going to go to information, and we've just set up a new page called Zeus templates, and in there you'll find the template for our Malden mission, so you're going to need to download that. And I would advise saving it to your desktop, so you can just drag it onto your desktop there. And here it is. Next thing you should do is to rename this immediately, so right click on that, go to rename, and let's just think of a mission name we can call it. You only need to change the bit before the full stop, so leave the name of the map you're using, that needs to stay intact. You just change the first part. So what should we call this? Let's call it Killer. So we've now renamed that, and this is in the format that would need to go onto the server, but to edit it you need to convert it. That's where PBO Manager comes in. So what we need to do now is to create a new file, new folder, call it Killer, call it exactly the same thing, .malden. Now we've got an empty folder there. Now PBO comes into its own, so we're going to open this, we're going to find the PBO on our desktop, we're going to select that, click open, click on this little plus, and we need to copy everything that's inside there. So I'm just going to control copy that, and just for purposes here I'm just going to paste onto the desktop. It just says mission, it's called an SQM file. We're done with this now. That needs to go inside there. Job done. If we open that up, we've just got the mission SQM file in there. Don't change the name of it in any way. So now we need to put these folders into two different locations. So open up your file browser, and if you look at these two addresses, one of them is where all the PBOs go, which is here, and the other one is where the standard versions of them go. So if we look here, for instance, at Jackknife, I've got a version of that here, which is the standard version that you need to edit. So if you look here, these are the file destinations, the addresses for those. That's that one where the PBOs go, and this is where the standard versions go. Just follow those addresses. If your files are in different places, then God help you. So in here I'm going to drag the Killer PBO, add that into there, and then into MP missions, the standard version, I'm going to drag the file we just made. So we've got both of those in there. That means I can now edit the mission. We're done with this. Now you need to fire up Arma. So here we go. Make sure you've got the correct mods installed, and then hit play. Go to the editor. It's very important that you only have the mods loaded that you need, because they will imprint on the game. So if they're different, if the mods you use to create the mission is different from the ones we have on the server, for instance, it won't work properly. Okay, when you're in the game you need to go open, then to MP missions, and you'll see in there, there's our file that we've just created. So we're going to open that up. And here we are in the editor. If I press M, you can see where we are on the map. And if you want to move around the map, move the camera around, you can just click with your middle mouse button to move it to that position. Then when I press M, I'm in this position, and press M again, and I'm going to go back over here and look at our team setup. So this is all of the players that could possibly be on our server. We've got Zulu here, the commander. We've got Lima, the whole team here, so the squad leader, squad medic, and so on. We've got uniform over here, Echo here, Whiskey here. We've got our respawn point here, which I could move to anywhere on the map. You don't need to move all of these guys, you just need to move the respawn point, and that's where everyone will respawn. And we've got our arsenal over here, which has got our equipment in it. If I double click on it and go to Ace Arsenal, you'll see in here all of the equipment that we have selected inside the arsenal. You can add or remove stuff from there just by clicking on whatever it is you want and clicking the item and making it active. I'm not going to do that at the moment. So that's the basics of that. The first thing you're going to want to do is go to attributes and go to general, and here where you're going to need to name your mission and say who it's by. You don't have to do this, but it's a good idea. And you can also select here whether the independent factions, the factions in green, are friendly to you or against you, or whether they're friendly to Op4 or against Op4. So in this case, the independent factions are enemies to everyone. That's all you need to do in there. I wouldn't fiddle about with too much of this. There is one thing in multiplayer that you might want to change. We've got this set as a cooperative mission, maximum amount of players on the server. You can write a little description in here of the summary of what the mission's about. Make sure this is unchecked. Enable AI. What that will do is if I was to spawn on my own here, I wouldn't see all of these guys just stood around with no one playing as them. It would just be me spawn in. If that enable AI was checked, then when I spawn in, I would occupy the character, whichever character I chose, but all of these guys would be stood where they are here and they wouldn't be doing anything. Okay, so in this setup, the only character that has access to Zeus in the game is the one that's got this Zeus module. So in this case, it's our high command, the Zulu. So in the Zeus character, in the Zeus module, sorry, his name, owner, is Z Curator. That gives him access to all of the objects and stuff that's in game. So if we double click on this character, you can see that his variable name is the same as it is in the Zeus module. So this is all set up for you. If you use our templates, you don't need to fiddle with any of this. You just need to go ahead and start making your mission. What you can see with this little blue icon, this is showing that the dynamic simulation is activated, so that they won't be visible to each other unless they're within a certain range. This is helps particularly with frame rate and stuff, and applies more to the enemy factions. So I'll show you how to do that in due course. So what's important when you've made a mission and you want to test it, if it's for multiplayer, then you need to go to play, and you need to play it in multiplayer. You don't just hit play, because that will play it as a single player mode, and that's not what you want. You need to make sure you play it in multiplayer, and just click yes on the LAN setting. It doesn't matter which one, it's on there. And then when this opens, you'll see the blue 4, and you'll see all of our characters here. So I could select the commander and click OK, and I'm going to spawn on that spawn point. This is how it normally starts for everyone. Click respawn, and here I am in the game in that loadout, and none of the other players are here. Our arsenal is here that we can interact with as usual, and I could edit anything. I can go to the loadouts, to default loadouts, and I can go to any of the presets we've got there. That's it. So let's place down some enemy units. So if I go to the map, let's zoom out, let's go to this base over here, middle mouse button click, and then here I am in this area where we did an op the other day. Now if I want to place down some enemy units, I'm going to go up here and click on op 4, or in this case, because there are enemies set to be enemies with us, I could select the independent as well, but in this case let's just choose op 4. Let's go for CSAT, which was already open, men, and then let's just choose a gunner with a HMG. Now if I place him down, what's important to note here is that I get this red circle around his icon, and if I double click on him, here we go. So under object control it says player. We don't want that, and we don't want it to be playable either, so we just uncheck that, and then when I close it, you'll see that red marker has gone. If we left this, if we selected player for instance, that would mean when I start the mission, so I'm going to play it again now in multiplayer, you can now see we've got an op 4 option here, so I could choose to be the enemy. So this would be how you would set up a person v person scenario. So you just need to make sure that none of them are selected as player or playable. So that will now be AI, but what we do need to do is set up the dynamic simulation for him. So what we need to do is right click, go to attributes, go to composition state, and then we need to enable dynamic simulation there, and then you'll see it gets this blue symbol which shows that he will only spawn into the game when our players are within whatever the settings are set to. I think it's like 900 meters. This means if you put down hundreds and hundreds of enemies, it won't try to put them all down all at once, which will completely smash the frame rate. It will only put them down when they're in range of our players. So if we was to put down a group of, let's say we put down a rifle squad, I can put all of these guys here. As that stands, you can see that first one has got that red circle again, which is trying to make that the player. Every time you put down a new unit, it's going to automatically select it as a player, so you need to double click on that. And make sure that's unchecked. That red circle's gone now. But what you can do here is just select this, press shift, you can select all of the players up there, right click, go to attributes, go to composition state, and we need to enable dynamic simulation. So they've now all got that little blue check, which means they will only spawn in when our players get within range. Another good thing to remember is if you were to put down a vehicle, so let's say we put down an APC, at the minute this is checked, so it will place vehicles with crew. So when I put this down, again it's given me that red circle. You can see this player here, the commander, has been allocated as a player. We don't want that. And this stalker has been put down with a full complement of crew. If I was to uncheck this button at the bottom, place vehicles with crew, that's pretty self-explanatory, but now I'm just going to be placing an empty vehicle with no one in it. Once you're happy with your mission and you've put everything down where you want it, you can hold shift to reorient these. You can also hold alt to lift them up and down. So once you're happy with your mission and you've got everything set up the way you want to, what's very important is the way you save it. So you need to go to scenario. You can click save at first, which will save it over the standard file version, but then to create the PBO or to update the PBO, you need to go to export and export to multiplayer. That then creates it as a PBO, or overwrites the PBO that we started with. Okay, so now let's look at some Zeus basics. So what I'm going to do is play this scenario again. choose the character that's got the Zeus module attached, spawn in, and here I am. I can run around and do everything I normally can, but by pressing Y by default it will take me into the Zeus menu. It takes a couple of seconds, and then I'm now in the Zeus menu, so I can see myself there, and we have all of the usual options that you have in editor. So I can put down units, I can put down Op4 units, I can put down objects like supplies, ammo boxes, all of that sort of thing. You could put down an ammo supply crate. You can then double click on that and it will bring up everything that's inside it. You could clear everything out of it. You could then select specific items you want to put in it, whatever you want in there. You could throw in a few grenades or whatever you want, and then the players can then go up to that and interact with that and get out of it whatever you've put in. You can delete it by clicking on it and pressing delete. But these are the important ones up here, this modules. So if we click on this, this is basically all the actions that Zeus can do. So for instance, Ace Medical, if I was to click full heal and then click on a player, it would obviously fully heal them. You can give them injuries, you can toggle them unconscious, you can do all sorts of things. They're fairly self-explanatory. We've got AI behavior. I'll explain that in a second. In fact, let me explain that now. So I'm going to press M. I'm going to go to an area. Let's find a little town. So let's go to Saint Louis. Center mouse button. Here I am in Saint Louis. Let's go to the middle of the town here. I'm going to put down an Op4 CSAT infantry rifle squad. I'm going to bang them in the middle of town here. They're talking to me. Then I'm going to go to modules. I'm going to go to AI behavior, and I'm going to garrison building instant. I'm going to click on the team leader, and I'm going to click that. It's going to give me these options. You can change these. So let's change that to, for instance, to 100 meters. Inside only, fill evenly. They're fairly self-explanatory. Let's put that on fill evenly, yes. And when I click OK, they have garrisoned in buildings all around in a 100-meter radius of that point. Now what's a little bit annoying, because these guys are all joined together in a group, they're going to try and leave those buildings and try and get back to their commander. That's the way you can do that. You can also interact with the enemy, so you can double click on this. I could kill this guy if I wanted to by removing his health and armor. He's now dead, and to help frame rates I could delete him. We can double click. I could change their stance, so he's now crouched. Okay, and if you wanted to change the setup for the whole group, you could double click on their team marker, so I could change the name of it to enemy 1. That's the now they're called, that's the name of their call, that's their call sign. I can change their combat aggression, their speed, every one of them is now crouched. You can change their skill, you can make them doctors, you can do all that sort of thing. Let's set up a little patrol. So I'm going to go back. This time I'm going to get a fire team. I'm going to stick them at this end of the town. I'm going to change their combat stance so they're safe and they're just walking, they're limited. And then clicking, then I've already got them highlighted, so using using control, I can then, god damn it, using control and right click, I can set some waypoints for them, and they're going to set off on a patrol. Control right click, and I'm going to take them all the way back to here, and the last waypoint I'm going to double click on it and I'm going to change it to cycle. So those guys are now going to follow this route all the way around, and when they get back to here they're going to move to their next closest waypoint, and they're going to basically follow that, and these guys are going to go on a little mission around the town in a nice slow pace. If I was to go to this one and change their combat, I'm going to change them when they get to this point. I'm going to make them start running, and they're going to be in combat stance. So as they... oh, they've done it immediately. Okay, I thought they only did it when they get to the next. So you can see how this can start to build up a mission really quickly. If we wanted to, we could go to the modules and we go to Zeus, and we can do things like zap one of them with lightning, which I don't think he enjoyed that very much. Double click on him, just hover over him, sorry, get rid of him. Now the next guy in line takes command, and they've basically had some sort of meltdown because he's gone behind a wall. So you know the AI in this is not the smartest, but they'll work it out eventually. This also does add to the random element of things, which can be quite good. So you can go back to the map, you can see all of those guys there. I can drag a box all around the lot of them and press delete, and they're all gone. So let's say now I wanted to move my players. Let's say one of the players has died on our team and needs to be teleported back to his team. So you go to players, you go to teleport, you click on the ground where you want them to move, and then you've got some options. It's usually better you can do it for a group, so a whole team would move, or in this case I'm just going to go players. I'm the only one here, so when I click this I'm going to appear there. There I am, and then I'm still in Zeus mode. So if I just press Y and go back into my normal character, I can then run around and do my shit. So there's obviously a lot more you can do with Zeus and with the modules, but hopefully this is a good introduction to it, and I'm sure Tyler or myself will be doing some more advanced sessions later. Thanks a lot, see you soon.